We're high school sweethearts. I know him better than you do. We were together for a very, very long time. Does that sound familiar to any of you guys out there? Because I've definitely heard it, trust me, more than once. But today we're going to kind of dig a little bit into that, right?
Yes.
Yes. So here's your host, Leslie Kirkland, and your co-host, Greg Kirkland. This is my Dope Blend podcast, and we're going to talk about insecurities, ex-wife versus the new wife.
Let's get into it.
Oh, this is going to be good, you guys. Are you ready for it? I'm ready for it. Okay, so let's dig into this, okay? Mm-hmm. So, insecurities are, sometimes things that we, of course, keep within ourselves, and it takes situations for them to come out.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think for women, when it comes to love, it comes to matters of the heart, it tends to come out. And when it comes out, it almost comes out like full force, claws and everything else.
Oh, catty.
Yeah, it can be. Back to the seas, mm-hmm, right? Mm-hmm. But in this situation, when you're dealing with an ex-wife and a new wife, the new wife is, I got the ring. This is me. Okay, mm-hmm. I'm the wife now. But the ex-wife has to make sure that the new wife knows that I had him at one point.
Okay. And
when kids are in the midst, I had his kids, especially if the new wife doesn't have kids.
Okay.
All of that. Mm-hmm. So it's just it's like tit for tat
mm-hmm.
type of situation.
Okay.
I can firsthand say I experienced that.
Well, yeah, I can firsthand say I've heard about that. I'm the ex-husband / current husband, mm-hmm. So same guy, two different roles, right?
Right.
But I can attest to having heard of your feeling confronted with those thoughts or even with those words at mm-hmm. times, with those feelings at times, mm-hmm. But I can't say I recall them ever being actually stated to me, but you've said to me that they were stated to you. So I know that it is something that you have endured firsthand. I can say that.
Definitely. And for women, because of how we're made, we're not always verbal in regards to us wanting to mark our territory. We can do things with body language. Mm-hmm. In this situation, our children, I have proof. Proof is in the pudding right here, right now. Mm-hmm. Things like that. Or as I'm learning you, I know him better than you do. As I stated in the opening, I know him better than you do. Okay. I was with him longer. Mm-hmm. But in this situation, I have learned that my insecurities were not necessarily toward your ex-wife. And before I say this, because I don't want it to seem like, oh, okay, she's just so full of herself. And I'm not. But I wasn't insecure about your past. Mm-hmm. I was insecure about the present and how could I be effective in the kids' lives without her feeling like I was trying to take over. That's where my insecurities lie, because I never had kids.
Okay.
So that to me was thrown in my face. And I didn't know how to handle that, because all I was trying to do was be an addition to what was already existing.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, I think what happens is, and at some point in time, we're going to, bring the girls into this.
Yeah.
But I think that what happens a lot of times is the children that are involved are not paid attention to as much as they should be.
Okay.
Because the adults that are involved are busy having tug-of-war.
Absolutely. That's very true.
The adults that are involved are busy going tit for tat,
mm-hmm.
or having to not necessarily overcompensate, but having to deal with their insecurities that are now being exposed because of things that are current, things that are happening, right? So I said all that to say that, it's unfortunate that you felt like you dealt with, that you dealt with insecurities more so because you were just trying to find out how to be impactful, influential, and just be there for the girls. without feeling like you were overstepping or without being perceived to be overstepping, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you asked the girls if they felt like you were overstepping or if you were doing too much,
Mm-hmm.
they might not have had that thought, if
Right.
that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So I'm saying all that to say that I think that it's important in a blended situation, even though we're talking about ex-wife versus new wife.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go ahead and say that and impose this thought that in the middle of the ex-wife versus new wife saga
Mm-hmm.
or dynamic, rather, the importance is to pay attention to the children.
Absolutely. And so to kind of rewind a little bit, we've talked about, what we've done, to, introduce this situation to the kids very early on in our relationship. But I think we never talked about, what steps do you take when you are introducing the ex into this dynamic? Because the truth is, no matter how you look at it, it could be a type of situation where there's strife, because of the divorce, or it could be where it's a mutual decision and there's no issues. But when it comes to the children, something always arises. Like something, even with fathers, it's okay, he's here, but I need him to know that I'm the dad. I'm their dad. With the mom, it's she's here, but I need her to know that I'm the mom, I'm the ex, and I'm the be all. I determine a lot. Because one, she shared up life with you, then two, she has your children.
Mm-hmm.
So we at times can use that to our benefit. And I think for me at the time, not having any biological children,
Mm-hmm.
I got that in my back pocket. You don't have that yet. I got that in my back pocket. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So there was a lot of that I had to get over. It wasn't necessarily her. It was that I had to get over. I was never insecure towards her. I never felt that. And honestly, it's just something that never, I don't know. And not to say I was better than or anything like that, because I don't believe that. I believe, she's a great person. I just felt like I was in his life at a different phase, and you were a different person.
Right.
And I was able to compliment who you were at this junction in your life. Make sense?
Yeah.
And I've had people ask me, how do you deal with that? Like literally how you deal with that. And this is my response. And just take heed to this, because I think it will help you all a lot. My husband's ex-wife, they were high school sweethearts, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were together for 12 years. 12 years.
Yeah.
And
we started dating when we were about 15, 16, somewhere around there.
Right. Fast forward to now, we have been together for 11 years. Correct. As a couple, and it'll be married 8 years, which technically we've been married longer than your first marriage. But in my mind, I believe we married two different Gregs.
Well, you did.
And in that, I feel like I don't mind her still having that territorial feeling toward you, because she had that toward the old Greg. That's not the Greg I married.
Wow. Well, that's deep.
So that's how I look at it. You can have that Greg. You can keep those memories and all of those things, because that's not the Greg that I'm with. I'm with a totally different person who I can have new memories with, but in that, be included in what you all establish as a married couple in the girls. Right. So it's not the easiest thing to do, but I have to remind myself that when I feel that insecurity starting to boil, like.
So, well, that's a good point. You bring up a good point. You speak now as though there are still moments in present tense.
There are. There definitely are. Because I feel like I have to lower myself at moments to not make her feel less than. Because I feel I carry that I still have a life that I have the life that she once had. And seeing that causes a disconnect for her.
Okay. So what happens though is that lends itself to what's called survivor's remorse.
Yeah.
And is that fair?
Is it? Because to me, I look at it on one hand of, I feel for her. I do. Even if someone has moved on, when kids are in the midst, you still feel because that's your children, and seeing your children in another family that you're necessarily not a part of can be heart-wrenching.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I carry that. I literally carry that. I was careful what I said. I was careful for how I interacted with them. I was careful in everything I did because I didn't want to make someone else feel less than. Because I felt like they already felt that.
And you feel like you still do?
I feel at moments I do. We just had a recent situation where I tried to keep putting myself, like, no, because I didn't want it to seem like I was overstepping, or in this case, truthfully, I didn't want it to feel like I knew her child better or I knew as much about her child.
But okay, so here's my question. At what point then at what point as the current wife or the current spouse, rather, at what point as the current, do you stop shrinking, stop being empathetic to the point of being so concerned or overly concerned that you are overstepping at what point does everybody have to accept the fact that it is what it is?
I don't think you ever come to a place where you ever stop feeling that way. I think you learn how to manage that, and you learn how to control or take control of the narrative that no matter how you look at it, it's never going to change. This is the new normal for us. And I had to learn how to accept those things that come with it. And I can't change what occurred in the past. I can only change now. And I can't cover myself and the other person. That person has to be able to accept the same things that I have.
Right. Exactly. So that's so basically you're answering now the question that I just asked.
Yeah.
Being that at some point in time, it has to come to a point where it has to be understood. It is what it is. I'm in the life. I'm in it for the long haul.
Okay, can I ask you a question? Is there ever a moment, do you feel as the ex-husband and the new husband that you're like, you don't have not survivor's remorse, but empathy in ways to be like, okay, I know this may be difficult, or you may still feel those moments because you're in between the both of us.
Well, early on in the very beginning, good question. because now as I start to process and I start to think about it, I do remember it would be awkward at times if we were ever in a situation where we were all together and, you and I, we got a love thing, so we show PDA, we hold hands, we kiss. But there were times, early on in our relationship that I can say that I would kind of be mindful of that I would be considerate of that, because I would feel like, it might make my ex feel uncomfortable to see that display, to see that interaction between the two of us. So I would downplay it as well. As life went on, as life progressed, then we went from dating and boyfriend and girlfriend to being engaged, and now we're fiance, and then we went from fiance to marriage, and so now, and then we went from being married to having our own children, and so life just continued to evolve. And at some point in time, for me, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And it was never a disrespectful, it was never a in your face, it was never a deal with it. It was never that. But there did come a point where it was just like,
This is what it
it,
is.
this is life, and then to go a step further, then she met a nice man.
Hmm.
She started dating, and and now they're married. So for me, life has gone on for everybody.
So life has gone on, but has it? Is the question, and I can't wait to hear more about it. And guys, just know that, I want you guys to really be engaged and tell us how you feel about what we're discussing, because it's this realness behind it. It's real emotional feelings that even I'm feeling right now. And make sure you guys go to our social media platforms, to the Bonus Club, become a part of the Bonus Club community, as well as My Dope Blend podcast. Keep listening to us, subscribe to us, go on TikTok, BMom40, and definitely our YouTube channel. I want you guys to see us, engage with us, become a part of our community, the Bonus Club community. And that's not just for women, it's for men, it's for children. We're here to work through the dynamic of new normals, family in a loving, different type of way, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I feel like, in going in that direction and basically talking about what you said, that, she's moved on and, she has a spouse and things like that, that adds a different layer if you really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're looking at a blended family, sometimes you only have that one parent that moves on and remarries. But
Right.
then, we did that at for the girls at a very young age. They were very young. So they had time to actually, I would say, grow with me, right?
Correct.
But now, fast forward to, where we currently are, and now they have a bonus dad, and he came at a later point in their lives. They've been with their mom, just the three of them, all this time, and now they have someone else has inserted themselves in a dynamic that they haven't had for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So now that comes a different level of insecurity for him.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
ex-husband, new husband.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, it shows in a different manner, because you may not see it. It never may be, I'm insecure when I'm around you. It's never going to be like that.
Right.
But there's certain mannerisms, there's certain things or that's unspoken or not spoken, because the person won't even acknowledge you in the room because they feel some type of insecurity toward you. You take a spot that they can't ever replace. You understand? You're dad.
Right.
You're Greg Kirkland. Let's, be real. So have you ever thought about, could he be insecure?
Sure. I feel that I have done the best job that or maybe I can't even say the best job, but I feel like I've done the job that I know to do. To make it okay, if that makes any sense. Like for me, just being honest. I mean, I never had an insecurity of being their dad. Nobody will ever be their dad.
Nobody.
Nope. Nobody will ever beat me being my daughter's dad. Nobody will ever beat me being my son's dad. Nobody will ever beat me being your husband. Nobody. There's a security that I have in that is not arrogant. It's not puffed up. It's not boastful. It's just a confidence that I have in that. And so, and don't lose your thought. But so in that, I would like to think that I've done all that I could to make the new husband feel comfortable, because it's like, look, man, my girls are good. I trust my ex-wife in her judgment.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen any reason for me to be uncomfortable about it.
With him.
Right. So, so for that, I will say this. The men didn't have the dynamic that the women had.
The men don't have the dynamic that the women have for
Close
so
up.
many reasons.
Go ahead.
For so many reasons. One, let's say this, he didn't come into their lives until later on.
That's true.
Okay.
Right. You're right.
I came into their lives and I've experienced adolescence.
Right.
I've experienced, them becoming
Life
ladies,
changes.
life, all of those things.
Mhm.
And she had to share that with me.
Right. Understood. You're right. I get that. I give you that.
That's hard for a woman to share those moments that are so sacred.
I'll give you that.
With her children, with another woman.
Hey, I give you that.
So, and there were moments, some things were shared with me first.
Right.
Because they were with us or at the time. So to not have that firsthand experience and someone else has it, that can be hurtful in a way that's not intended to be, but just because of the timeline and how things occurred, that's just how it is. And for women, it's so much deeper. I carried the child. I nursed this child. I experienced these moments, and now I have to share it. And this is where I come in with the moments of feeling for the other person.
Yeah.
Because I have to share it with someone who didn't.
Well, I respect that. I think too that it's important too to bring to light that all dynamics are not like this, and we should speak to the fact that there are some situations, I'm sure, out there where it's the opposite. The new wife might try to rub it in the face of the ex-wife.
And you do have those moments. Yep. And let's be honest about that. There is moments.
Or spouse.
Mm-hmm. And it does happen. Guess what? Let me be honest. I've had moments that I've said, oh, girl, please. Do you know who I am? Really? I mean, in my mind, let's be honest. If we really gonna put it out there, we're women. That's just how it works.
And so that's understandable, but so I guess the point that I was making when I made that statement though is that as the husband, as the man in the middle of it all, right? Because you got the children in the middle, and then you have the spouses in the middle.
Yeah.
I can't say husband because sometimes it's opposite. But what I will say is I made that comparison because I can understand if the new spouse is, cocky and arrogant and, yeah, I got him now. I got her now, so, I'm going to give the kids this and they're going to love me when they come out my house. I'm going to do this and they're going to want to tell me everything. I could see when it's that, how it could make the ex feel some kind of way. But when it's the opposite, and when you have a current spouse, wife, husband, that is just doing what they can to try to show that I just want to love the children. I want to love my new husband, wife, whichever one it is. And at the same time, I married them and I married their children. So I want to do the best that I can to just do what I can to love on their children, to take care of their children. For me, when it's that dynamic, that's when I feel like the ex needs to pull up and grow up.
But okay. And this is not a back and forth. I want our viewers to hear it and see it from so many different angles, because I think for us, it's important that in this process that we understand the other person's feelings. And this is why, because when I said I do to you, I said I do to the girls. And I said I do to her because she's a part of them.
Yeah.
So some of the feelings I have to carry because I married into it.
Understood.
And what I'm saying is, but I also have to learn how to, as you say, evolve in them. And I think for me, sometimes it can be a personality thing because of who I am as an individual. But I want the audience to understand that it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to have those moments of, am I supposed to feel some type of empathy or, girl, please, if we are going to be a family, and to me, that's what this is all about, becoming a blended family. And it may not always be harmonious at times, but you have to take on the heart of love and the heart of compassion in order to get through all the things that you deal with within a blended family. And that includes the ex.
That
that
was nice.
includes the feelings of the ex.
That was good. That was nice. That was
And that's
that's good.
ex-wife, ex-husband. You have to think about their heart and what the pain that they went through. Divorce is a very difficult thing that I pray never to experience, but it can be very, very
I know.
it can be very crippling, and like you told me, it's like a death.
It is. You mourn.
You mourn something that you held so close to you.
And that's why I think that to everything there's a season.
Mm-hmm.
And to everything there's a time. So I think that in the beginning, the onset of it does require empathy across the board. And I don't think it should just be the new wife having empathy for the ex. The ex-wife ought to have a little empathy too for the new wife or spouse. It should be both ways.
Ooh, it's gonna bring tears.
Don't you start this. especially if the new spouse is coming in and doesn't have the experience, as you said, of being a biological parent yet. Mm-hmm. So they're learning. They add water and stir and got an instant family. That requires empathy. Mm-hmm. See? So it's like there should be empathy on every part. Watch this though, to me, in the beginning.
In the beginning. Mm-hmm.
But as time progresses, as time goes on, as they say, time heals all wounds. Mm-hmm. It should. Love conquers all. It should.
It should.
It requires a maturity. Mm-hmm. It requires a patience. It requires
conversations.
Security. It requires conversations and communication. Mm-hmm. It requires all of the above. But I think that as time goes on, it should come to a place where everybody has matured enough to be able to say, we can live together and be harmonious.
Right. And we've had those moments of when I brought in communication, we've had one-on-one communication, ex-wife, new wife. We've had communication, a family, all of us together talking through it. And some of them has been great, some of them not so.
Sure.
But I think fast forward to where we are now, it's allowed us to experience things that at one point I thought we would never experience. You know, we were able to send our oldest off to college and we did it together.
Correct. Which was great.
Which was great. And it was good. And let me say this, guys. I've never had any situation where we're going at it. It's not like that. It's never been anything like that. And I want to make that very, very clear. But there has just been moments where it has felt awkward. But it was so great to have that moment that we were there for the child. That's what it was all about. And I think that's the most important thing. As he stated before, it's about the child. But we have to get to that point and understand we have to heal to get to that point. And we have to be willing to heal, because some of us like to harbor the resentment and the pain of what you've gone through because you want to live there. And you can't live there for the sake of your children. You can't stay there.
That'll preach, though. Listen here.
You can't stay there. So
you have to be willing to heal.
You have to be willing to heal. You have to be willing to, communicate. And I'm going to be very frank. I'm not saying you have to be the best of friends, but you have to have a mutual respect for your role.
I mean, I think that's all.
You have to have a mutual respect.
I think that's all. I think it would be a little weird for me if y'all were friends.
Some of them
I'm going
are.
out. We going out.
No,
where y'all going?
But they have some that are, and I think it's great. I don't think it's weird. I think it's great. I think there should be a line that's drawn. Don't get me wrong.
If you had an ex-husband and me and him was going to Topgolf on Friday,
I mean,
what?
Y'all could talk about other. Not you're gonna talk about me.
We're gonna talk about you.
Well, I am somebody to talk about.
You had her your way, and I had her mine.
Come on,
but we had her. Don't you worry about it.
See, no, that's where it gets just nasty.
That's my husband, though. But see, you don't hang out with the ex.
No,
swap stories.
I think there definitely should be some type of relationship. Now, the depth of that relationship is between that blended dynamic. I think that is me personally. But I think there should be some of that going on. But I just feel like, you have to find what works for you. But the key is finding that solution and not living in the turmoil, because it doesn't benefit the child at all. sometimes we have to lower our insecurities and allow our heartfelt love for our spouses and for the children that's within the situation to take full control, and allow everything else through prayer to just manifest itself, because it will, through time. But I do have a funny story that I am going to share with you guys, that I did experience. Our youngest graduated from high school. And there was a game that I thought was wonderful. And it was about like questions about her and all of that. I know the child better, like her dad didn't know half of the questions, and I knew them, knew them. And I felt, but that was an insecurity of mine, because I felt all eyes was on me because I knew the answer, and I was trying not to know the answer. And he kept saying, "Why you know her? The girl ain't been in your life for 11 years. What is the point?" And I'm like,
And my dad didn't help. Just being honest.
And they were like, Leslie, you want a game? I was like, no, I didn't. And that was an insecurity for me, because, I didn't want people to know the depth of my relationship with her, because I listen to her when she talks. I hear what she says. I want the things that she wants for her heart, and it's going to make me cry. I want those things for her. So for me to be able to verbalize that, I almost felt shamed to know that.
Wow.
I did.
Wow.
So,
Listen, you have, I'll say what I said to you. You have been a part of these children's lives. You have made an impact. You have listened. You have nurtured. You have inspired. You have mothered, these children. They've been sick in your presence. You've nursed them back to health. You've helped them through heartbreaks and adolescent troubles and issues and things like that. You have earned the right. You have earned the right.
I've earned the medal. I've earned the medal. So guys, if you guys are enjoying this, because I actually am, I think it's almost like a therapy session for me right now. Let's talk about more of it. Come on, join the community so we can talk live about it. I definitely want to engage with you all, hear some of the things that you guys have come, have triumphed over, and how you all are blending, and how the dynamic between the ex-wife and the new wife, or the ex-husband and the new husband, is working for you. Because I think it helps us all to hear those wonderful, wonderful triumph stories that will, then transcend amongst the community.
And they can take an assessment.
And they can take an assessment. Yes, take an assessment
of where you are.
Of where you are now.
How's your blended situation?
How did you get to this point? And
are you in a good blended situation?
Are you in a good blended situation? And if you're not, what are the things that you're seeking? Because some people don't know, because they haven't had the example to see it. So we're here to give that to you. And it's not perfect, but we're here trying amongst all of you all as a community, right?
Yes. The assessment is on the website.
On the website.
So make sure you go there.
My Dope Blend Podcast. And like we said, you got to go to our social media platforms. On Instagram, it is My Dope Blend Podcast, and I Am the Bonus Club. You got TikTok once again at BMom40, and you definitely have us on YouTube, right?
Yes.
So you got to come on back, right? So now that we've talked about, how I feel and what I deal with, and still sometimes, not on a daily basis, but at moments I deal with, and even sharing my story about, our youngest graduating from high school, which is great, y'all, that they both done. Thank you,
Praise
Jesus.
Him. Hallelujah.
Thank you, Jesus. But even that, I'll share another story, because I think sometimes stories help people feel or relate a little bit better. So we also have 2 little boys.
Yes.
Greg and I have 2 sons that are 4 and 6. I remember, and I remember this so well. We had a gender reveal,
Mhm.
and we were so excited about it. I know I was. It was because I wanted a boy, y'all. I wanted a boy for so many reasons, and we will get into that to another episode.
That's a
Um,
different podcast.
but we'll get into that. But I remember something that was told to me by our youngest, that their mom had heard that I was expecting, and how she heard it caused her to get out the car and walk into the house. And she was very quiet. She looked, and her bonus dad, now check this out, her bonus dad went to check on her
Mm.
to make sure she was okay, because they heard it in the car
Mhm.
that I was expecting.
Mhm.
And that actually did something to me.
Mm.
That, as excited as I was about having a baby of my own, for that moment, I felt really bad
Mm.
for being pregnant.
Mm.
I really did. Because I was like, okay, she has to see this. She has to see you move on, and now it's physical.
Mhm.
Now it's not, Greg is just, he's not just the father of my kids.
Mhm.
He about to have a whole new family with her
Mhm.
that includes my kids.
Okay.
So that was another moment that I was
Mhm.
like, oh God,
Mhm.
like how do I handle that? Not wanting to flaunt being pregnant. You can't help but flaunt pregnancy. Your belly growing. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, oh my God, I can't minimize myself in that situation.
No.
And my mom helped me with that. And I think I've shared to with you guys in past episodes, I come from a blended family and didn't even realize I was in one.
Mhm.
And because we just didn't function like that. And my mom is the one who talked to me in that situation at that moment and said, it's okay, and be happy,
Mhm.
but be prayerful.
Mhm.
She said, because you don't know the heart of the other person when they see happiness and moving on,
Mhm.
and what that feels like for them.
Mhm.
So you can always have that feeling, and you can always be, compassionate about, where they are, but just be happy,
Sure.
move forward,
Mhm.
and live life, and let God do the rest.
Mhm.
Because He will. And He has. He has.
Yeah.
He definitely has. But he has such a sense of humor, though, because we went through that with the first child. And then the second child, I didn't even really see her with the second child, because I mean, literally almost my whole pregnancy, I didn't even hardly see her. So there wasn't any type of way that I felt with that one.
Right.
I felt my own way.
Yes, you did. God, that's
About
another
the second one.
podcast too.
So yeah, so I just feel like, we're at a place now, though, that, we've established an understanding,
Yeah, I can say that.
an unspoken understanding.
Well, I mean, what do you do?
What do you do? Do you have a conversation? Do you sit down? What do you do? Is there moments that you need to have like now the girls are in college, so
Mhm.
is there a moment that, now we're mothering in a different way now,
Mhm.
because we dealt with the adolescence. We've dealt with, them going through the ebbs and flows of being teenage girls. Now we're going into a different phase of them becoming young ladies, and their experiences will be a little bit different. And we both have experienced things in life differently.
True.
So I always want to be on the same page.
Well, I just think that at the end of the day, life is going to change now because the girls are technically moving into adulthood.
They are.
One is already an adult. The other one is moving into adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
And by that, they'll be able to make their own choices and decisions,
Mm-hmm.
which in itself brings a level of, what's the word? I guess like a discomfort to an extent, because now a lot of the decision making will come upon them as to who they may choose to have an experience with versus the other. You know, with the children being the focal point, coming back to the point that was made earlier, a lot of times what happens is that the adults end up imposing themselves onto the children. Like, in other words, there may have been experiences along the way that, let's talk about us specifically, that the girls may have even wanted to experience with you,
Mm-hmm.
but had to acquiesce to the desire of their mom, because their mom said, you're going to have this experience with me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And this goes either way, right? So now the girls are getting to an age where they're able to make their own choices.
Yeah.
They're able to say, you know, I'm getting ready to go on this trip, but I want to go with Miss L. I'm getting ready to go on, you know, I'm getting ready to make this purchase. I want to purchase this with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, getting ready to have this experience. I want to have this experience with both.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a maturity still and a security still that's going to have to come from the new
Both
wife
sides.
and the ex-wife.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because there's going to have to be an understanding of, now my child is making the decision for themselves.
They're the driver. They're in the driver's seat.
They're in the driver's
They're
seat.
in the
man.
driver's seat.
So life changes. So when you ask the question
Ooh.
of, do you have a conversation? Do you sit down?
Yeah.
I would even go as far as saying that the conversation between the two adults at this point is not necessary,
Mm-hmm.
because the children are going to drive.
Wow.
So now the
that's
whole
something.
thing switches now.
It's switch. Honestly, I've never even thought about it from that standpoint. At some point, the children take
Absolutely.
the driver's seat.
And so that's why it's important, though. That's why it's important, in my opinion,
Yeah.
that you keep the children as the focal point
Yeah.
throughout the process.
Yeah.
Because it's going to come to a point
That they're going
when
to.
when the tables will turn,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll be able to make their own decisions. And now it's going to come down to a preference. Now it's going to come down to an experience. Now it's going to come down to, you know, and that's just in general. That's just generally speaking.
Yeah.
You know, so understanding that it's important how the process is handled along the way, because it's going to eventually get to a point where the children are going to determine how they want it to go from there.
So let me ask you this. Now that our kids are in college, we can assess each other and our situation.
Okay. Meaning you and I?
Meaning, you know, just period of, you know, now that we can look back and say, okay, it's been 11 years. The girls are in college. You know, how did we do? How do you think we did and are doing? You
Doing
know,
great.
How do you think we're
It's a great
doing?
dad.
You know, with this dynamic and how we've handled things. And even, you know, as your wife, as, you know, we talked about ex-wife versus new wife, you know, I know we've had talks,
Mhm.
you know, and you've had your come to Jesus with me,
Mhm.
you know, on Leslie, you got to let this go. You can't change this dynamic.
Right.
You can't change this situation.
Mhm.
It is what
Mhm.
what it is. But have you seen evolvement? Have you seen change that has definitely been beneficial for the girls? Because that's what it all boils down to.
Well,
as we've
I think
stated.
peace is the umpire.
Peace is the empire.
So
Okay. Remember that, guys. Say that again.
peace is the umpire. You know,
Yep.
that is not mine. That is Nietzsche's. But I'm just saying, actually, I can't tell you exactly who said it, but I do know that it's been said, and I have heard it. That peace is the umpire. And by that, what I mean when I say that is that what I appreciate most about my girls, about our girls, is when they come home, when they come to the house, when they come to functions that we're involved in, I feel a sense of peace that they have.
Okay.
I feel a sense of peace that they have in our home, in our environment, in our family dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't always there.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
When they were younger, it was,
We had to get
I
to
don't know
that
how
place.
to feel,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But now that they're older, I feel a sense of peace that they have when they come into our environment, when they come into our home. So to me, peace is the umpire. Peace is letting me know that we're not out, but we're safe.
We're not out, but we're safe.
Peace is letting me know that we've done a good job of creating an environment, creating an atmosphere, creating a space that the children feel comfortable being in our space.
That's good.
They feel comfortable coming to you and talking to you. They feel comfortable coming to me and talking to me. They feel comfortable coming to us and talking to us.
Yeah.
And allowing us to be able to work through issues and circumstances and just life, you know? So when you ask that question, I feel like we've done the best job that we knew how to do. Because sometimes it's not about right or wrong, it's about best.
It's about best,
you know? And we've done the best that we could do.
Yeah.
And I feel like the peace that our children have when they come into our space is the answer to the question of whether we've done a good job.
So I think, and I'm gonna call y'all family. I think family, the word, my husband said it best, is peace. We want to create a peaceful environment for our children at best. And that means that we have to die to ourselves and allow that peace to just take over within the dynamic of our families in order to give them what they need to flourish. And it's not always an easy road, but if we take the necessary steps and we're willing, you have to be willing to do the work. It'll give you great results. It's not about competition.
No.
It's not even about who knows who best.
No.
It's all about the love that we have for what we've created. And most of all, the creation is those children.
Yep.
And we have to remember that in the most difficult times, in the most craziest situations, when you want to just rip the heads off the other person. Now, let's be honest.
It's all about
you have to remember that. And it takes a great level of maturity to get to that place, and a level of grace to get to that place, and forgiveness. And forgiveness not just for the other person, but for yourself to get to that place. But you have to want it in order to get it.
Yep. It's about the children.
And it's all about, and we have to always remember that it's about the children. It's always about the children. And I even have to remember that it is about the kids. And if you keep that in the forefront, then everything else will lead. And it drives it. Yeah, it drives it. But at some point, remember that what you do when they are children, they're watching, they're seeing, they're digesting it. And as my husband said, at some point, they're going to take the driver's seat. So think about that. Be mindful of that. Be careful of how you move, what you say, because they're watching, and at some point, they're going to make a choice. So what would that choice be for you? And I'm hoping, as my listeners listen in, the choice is going to always be take the high road.
Sure. Do what's
Even
best.
when you don't want to, you take the high road, right?
Do what's best. Yeah. Don't worry about right or wrong.
Right or wrong, just take the high road. Turn the other cheek. Look, I'm turning it as I'm talking to you guys. Turn the other cheek. All right, guys, please don't forget to come back next week and listen to us. But this time, I want to hear from you guys. I want you guys to go to all our social media platform and ask me some questions, because I want to answer them. So go on, of course, IG first at My Dope Blend Podcast. DM me all the questions you have. You can go to also the Bonus Club. Ask me those questions. Come on TikTok, BMom40. I'm here to answer your questions. And not just for me, but for all those listeners and viewers out there that are asking the same question, but a little bit too afraid to bring it out. I'm here, or ask them or say something about him. Come on, send it to me, DM me. I got the answers, or we got the answers for you, okay?
No, she got the answers for you.
I'm going to try to have the answers for you. But definitely come back next week. I think you guys are going to enjoy that episode. It's about questions, all right? So peace out. We love y'all. Keep blending.